Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing our Carolina Panthers 7-round mock draft. We did a full 7-round mock drafts, all 255 or 56 picks now, I guess, now with the Rams' additional compensatory pick. And so we're going to be breaking down all the Panthers picks here, starting with their first pick in the start of the second round at 33 overall. Before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. We're doing a 7-round mock draft for all 32 teams. We also have other 3-round and 7-round mock drafts planned leading up all the way to the NFL draft. So like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified when new Panthers videos come out. Just to orient you a little bit on what you're seeing here, obviously at the top you can see what round this is in. And we wanted to include for the first 3 rounds a couple of picks before and after, just to give some context on who was taken and who was still available when the Panthers made this pick. Also to the right, you can probably figure this out now, just some other potential players that you're not able to see that were still on the board that they could have taken. And we ended up going with Roman Wilson here with their pick. I will say, too, if you're questioning why Roman Wilson, one, Ryan and I, we think he's going to be rising his way up the draft boards a lot. Everybody saw his performance against Alabama and also against Washington as well in the college football playoffs. I think the dude is I think he's got a lot of talents that I think he could be kind of a chameleon to a lot of different types of NFL offensive schemes. Another reason, too, why we took him here is the Panthers need receivers. They need to go receivers. And right before this, leading up to it, there was a string of 3 receivers taken, and then a 2-pick break, and then another string of 3 receivers taken, as you can see here with Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman. Personally, if Ladd is available, I think the Panthers are going to run up to go get Ladd McConkey, but I don't think he's going to make it outside the first round. I don't think he's going to get past San Francisco or Kansas City, so the Panthers might have to trade up. And we'll talk a little bit about that later once we get to the day 3 picks, but they don't have too many day 3 picks. They don't have too many picks just in general. I think Roman Wilson, though, still comes in and is a phenomenal fit for this team, helps out Bryce Young a bunch. He can be a consistent guy. Something similar potentially to, I think, what we saw like Tank Dell, CJ Stroud type of relationship.
That to me, I think when you think about Roman Wilson, and he's just going to be a quarterback's best friend. He's going to be the guy that's going to get separation in a phone booth, and I really just think he brings a lot to the table. I also think you look at that receiving core. They have Adam Thielen, they have Jonathan Mingo, and going and getting a guy like Roman Wilson, I think he comes in, he adds a little bit more speed to that offense. He adds some elusivity and just a little bit more explosiveness. And I think Jonathan Mingo, you expect him to make a leap in year 2. Maybe he was getting a lot of Debo comparisons last year, but I think you expect him to make a little bit of a jump. And all of a sudden now you're starting to have this great young wide receiver group kind of forming down there in Charlotte for the Panthers to really go ahead and move forward with. So I really like this pick. I think if you're looking at it, I like Jalen Polk a lot as well. And I really think it's wide receiver or bust here. I think that they either draft a wide receiver or trade it because 1, they need more picks. 2, they need wide receivers. Like that's kind of their top 2 needs, I think, in this draft. So and they could get a lot for this one with how this draft class is shaken up. So
well, and it's what we saw last year as well too, with kind of the franticness of when day 1 ends and like there's a bunch of still good players on the board. Those teams in the top 15, those first 15 picks start day 2 are going to want to trade up and go get this spot. Like we want to go get that guy. So let's move on though now to their 3rd round pick. I think another big need for them is going to be offensive line, particularly on the interior offensive line. I did like Christian Mahogany and his performance in the Senior Bowl. I think he can come in. Like he's a day 1 starter. Like he's competing for a day 1. He's competing for a starting job for sure. So I think there's a lot of different ways they can go here. I do think there are some defensive guys I think they can go and get, but also a sneaky option as well. I did include this in the potential options. Blake Corum, sneaky, I think, running back position here. Miles Sanders did not pan out or has not panned out so far within Carolina. Some of that you can blame on him. I think a lot of that also too, just a horrible offensive setup last year for everybody. Also, Chuba Hubbard played decently well. I think Corum could come in and also be a good spot as well. But in order to do that, though, kind of as I mentioned, I think they need to beef up that offensive line first to even give Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders a shot.
Yeah, exactly. And then also I think you get the added aspect with Chris Mahogany of not just blocking the run game, but in the pass game. They need offensive linemen to kind of come in. I know Akim Ekwonu hasn't quite panned out and been what they've wanted. Taylor Moton
Moten.
has Moten has been probably their best offensive lineman. I think you go out on day 2 and get another really solid player here for that offensive line and for to protect Bryce Young. So
Yeah.
let's move on now to kind of the rest of their picks. So they only had 2 top 100 picks. These are their picks not in the top 100. So starting off in the 4th round here, Marshawn Nealand, the extremely large edge rusher from is it Bowling Green or
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan. I'm thinking of I forget the kid's name from last year, but he was
Yeah, I know you're
Carl
talking
Davis
about, yeah.
from Bowling Green. So Marshawn Nealand, just an extremely athletic and big. I believe he's almost 300 pounds, which is defensive tackle territory. But he's going to give them, I think, a lot of versatility on the defensive line. Taj Washington was a fantastic option or fantastic standout at the Shrine Bowl, really showing his ability to separate from the slot. I really like what he brings to the table. I think you pair him with Roman Wilson. You have Jonathan Mingo. You still have Adam Thielen. And then also another option I really like, Dylan Lobby was a standout at the Senior Bowl. And him just as a receiving back alone, I think is worth the round 5 pick. But I also think he actually has some Christian McCaffrey he's not Christian McCaffrey, but some Christian McCaffrey-esque versatility to his game, where I actually still think he hits holes really well. He runs downhill really well. He is only like 5'10", like 200. But again, just a really great athlete, and he's going to be a threat coming out of the backfield. And then lastly, just kind of wrap it up, Jared Penning, just an investment at that tackle spot, which has been a weak point. So 4 really solid players here on day 3. I will say at this point in the draft, I think you're really looking more for traits and positions of need rather than best player available, which is definitely, I think, more of the top 100 strategy. But I definitely think Taj Washington, he can come in, reminds me a little bit of Demario Douglas. I think he can come in and be a 40-catch, 500-yard receiver, I think, in year 1. Roman Wilson, I think you're hoping is even more than that. And again, you're hoping Jonathan Mingo takes that step forward as well. So I really like this draft for the Panthers. I mean, you're a Falcons fan. Do you think this draft makes the Panthers significantly better?
Yeah, I would think so, just because I think there's so many holes, especially too on the offensive side of the ball. So I think every spot outside of quarterback is up for grabs on just overall improvement. And so then I think even too, we didn't touch too much on the defensive side of the ball. They only have 6 picks, and especially then too with you need to be able to score in this league. And so I think that they're going to prioritize the offensive side of the ball, and I think you're just going to go and try and find just impact players, guys that can come in and actually contribute, from the start, which I think they did, all things considered. It's not entirely, they're not really set up for success here. They traded up to go get Bryce Young for a reason, and unfortunately, that did not pan out leading into this draft class. So it's unfortunate that they're missing out on the number 1 overall spot, because then they could definitely get a lot more picks, because they'd be the same spot as what it was like for Chicago last year. Like they'd trade back, go get first rounders, go get stud players, but is what it is. And so I think with this draft right here, very curious to kind of see the overall route that they take. It is possible maybe they don't go receiver with their first overall pick, just because of how many, like this class is pretty deep overall. So if they want to go get the offensive lineman that they want with that 33rd overall pick, I could see that just because there's going to be guys at 65. There's going to be guys at 102, and then just all kind of throughout like the rest of the day 3 as well. Still like to go get a guy like Taj Washington. I could see him coming. He can go in and provide like a quick little electric, pace to this offense, something that they don't really have. So that's where I can see maybe they could go a different route, but I would bet that they're probably going to go receiver first overall pick. Maybe even if they have the opportunity to trade up into the first round to go get a guy.
Yeah. So I think the Panthers, I mean, looking back at that trade for Bryce Young, I know you guys have your quarterback now that you're trying to build around. That was just a big jump from 9 to 1, and I think that they're feeling a little bit of that hurt in this draft class, and I think going at it with receiver first, get that offensive line to protect Bryce Young second, I think will be beneficial. So
Yeah.
I also think Bryce Young just having a year in the league, going into a second year, will most likely be better. So
Yeah.
all in all, I really like what we did for the Panthers here. Let's wrap the video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of our Panthers 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.